Here's a question for you. Do you take time to celebrate yourself? To kind of give yourself a pat on the back for something small, something massive? Do you take time to celebrate yourself? And I think the response for the majority of people out there would be, I don't. That if we really think about it, that it could be a little easier, a whole lot easier to focus, to encourage, to celebrate other people. But when we flip the table, it's the state of awkwardness, or I feel selfish if I take time out of the day or someone else's day to celebrate something I've done. And this is where we need to turn that mindset really upside down and realizing that celebrating ourselves is one of the best gifts that we can give to ourselves. So as we jump into today's episode, I want to ask you, when is the last time that you took time to kind of put a light on something that you've done, something that you were aspiring to, that you achieved personally, professionally, and you allowed yourself to give yourself a pat on the back? Maybe it was yesterday, maybe it was 12 years ago, maybe it was never. If you were to hop on social media and post something that you've most recently accomplished, or a goal, something, how would you feel? I want to kind of ask you that and explore it a little bit. We can feel weird and like, I don't really want to do that. I don't know how to do that. Why? My question is why? Why do we hesitate to celebrate ourselves? I'm going to tell you this right now, that it is not selfish, right? Where there's people that absolutely have narcissistic tendencies, are self-indulgent, or selfish. I am saying for my audience before you now that where you're at, it's saying, when is the last time I celebrated myself? And the really neat thing is when we change, alter, realign our mindset to say, you know what, man? There's only one me. There's only one me. And whatever stuff you've been through, I want you to think about that, right? Some of the things you've been through in life, man, it's been a tough road. Or man, the past year and a half has been really tough. But guess what? You're here. And guess what? What is something that you achieved? Did you share it with anybody? And some of those things might be really personal and you're not like, I'm not going to share that. That's fine. But you can even share that with yourself, or share that with a spouse, with a best friend, whoever it is. Begin celebrating yourself, because when we literally, we put it out there, verbally put it out there, we are on social media, we are engaging in a conversation, we are putting it out there. It's validating our awesomeness. And again, that is not pompous, that is not selfish. It's putting yourself out there. And it's saying, this happened, this goal was achieved, I've been struggling with this, and this is where I'm at now. And what I'm going to tell you, your people that are clapping and excited for you, it's a good feeling. And I always say those people who stay silent, or just kind of, those are, I said that they're truly, that's funny how situations can kind of sort people out, are not part of your tribe. And you might be surprised that your tribe is either smaller or bigger, or there's people in there that you're like, wow, I didn't even realize that, they were applauding me, or such and such, man, has never patted me on the back, or like validated, like, man, you did that. We need to encourage each other. And part of that starts with us. This is number 2, being comfortable congratulating and applauding ourselves. And that could be awkward sometimes. That could be uncomfortable sometimes. It's allowing ourselves to become a greater priority than where we are currently, or where we have been in the past. Prioritizing ourselves. You could say, well, I prioritize myself and I take time for myself with self-care. But I would also say that could be strengthened. And the reality of who we are, or acknowledgement of who we are, when we take time to celebrate ourselves. And it doesn't have to be something that we do every single day, but when's the last time you did it? We can get really weird about taking time for ourselves. And I really don't know where that comes from, because I know that's for so many of us where it's, I just don't do it. And that seems super weird. Like, I'm going to give you some examples when it comes to celebrating yourself, because what the heck does that look like? And it could be treating yourself to something that you really enjoy, that you dig, going out and buying yourself a bouquet of flowers that you're like, man, as a Trader Joe's, I love the bouquet of sunflowers. I could wait for somebody to buy those for me. And then occasionally, I'm getting myself some flowers. I love some sunflowers. I'm going to put them in the middle of my table. I'm going to smell them in a vase, of course, because otherwise they wouldn't last very long. But I'm taking time for me. It could mean you're going to a movie by yourself, or with people. You're like, hey, your peeps, let's go. I'm just happy to be alive. Let's go to a movie. Reading your favorite book. Nobody's around. I'm going to read it. I'm getting 15 minutes a night. Little ways to just celebrate yourself. Doesn't have to be putting yourself up on a billboard. And that could be like, wow, we're thinking, okay, bring it to where you're comfortable, right? Little things of celebrating life, taking time to just be grateful to be alive, watching the sun come up, watching the sun come down. The power, and seriously, the connecting to nature, specifically the sun, right? Watching it come up, another day's beginning. And I'm here, and thank you, God, for letting me be here, and thank you for this experience, and thank you for just meeting you where you're at is awesome. Or a close to another day. I believe with all my heart, a few times a year, watching and stopping. You don't have to sit for an hour and a half, right? It takes just 10 minutes, 5 minutes, watch the sun come up, watch the sun go down. There's something super tremendously beautiful about it. And with that, I'm going to add this: setting and writing down your accomplishments. Do you have goals for your accomplishments? I think a lot of people would answer, yeah, I do. But have you followed up in terms of what have you achieved? And have you been like, man, that's pretty cool? A lot of times we leave that part out. Giving yourself like, that was awesome. Whether it was like, you know what, I went to the grocery store and I remembered everything. I cannot literally remember the last time I did that, and that was awesome. To I finished that project, or you know what, that dinner that I made was really good. I mean, we don't have to focus on just massive things. All right, I turned 30, I turned 40. Exploding with gratitude. Allow yourself to explode with gratitude about where you've been, where you are, and where you are going. It'll rock your world. Being comfortable, celebrating you. And I'm going to give you one place to really kind of start that, thinking of something, right, to celebrate and post it on social media, right? Or if you're not a huge social media fan, shoot it out in a group text. And it might be some people are like, what? That's kind of weird. We need to unweird it. Celebrating something about you. Give yourself a shout out. There's something really cool about that. Give yourself a shout out. And after that, do a reminder on a post-it note. Get some funky, cool, fluorescent post-it notes. Post it around. I did this, or I was able to check this off my bucket list, or that project, I rocked it out. We sell ourselves short, and it starts in here. I've said it a bazillion times. God created you with purpose and intention. There is never, nor has there ever been, there never will be another you. There won't. Celebrating that. Man, we can let ourselves get internally dusty at selling ourselves short, getting really weird and uncomfortable about celebrating ourselves. And I've been part of that tribe, right? I'm not sure if I shared this story before, but a number of years ago, it was when we were in a place in Jersey where I was fairly confident it was going to be our last year in New Jersey, right? It was my last year as a counselor, my husband's last year as an assistant principal, and I was getting ready to turn 40. And Keith had said, hey, you know what, I want to celebrate you. Let's get some of your friends together, just have a day. And I was like, nah, I'll do it some other point. And I did not take time to celebrate myself. For whatever reason, I felt like, internally, I'm going to say maybe I didn't feel like I deserved it, or I didn't want to obligate people. What? And I don't say I regret that, but it's something I think back, like, why did I sell myself short? That was my last birthday that I was in New Jersey, where I was around like my people, man. Why would you not? That was foolish. And what I'm getting at here is, don't sell yourself short. You are you, celebrate you, do it. So this is October, right? In a few weeks, I'm going to be celebrating my birthday. Well, I'm going to say this. I'm not just going to celebrate myself on the 28th of October. I'm celebrating my month, right? Am I going crazy train? No, I'm not going to go crazy train. But part of my list is I want to go surfing a few times this month. I want my feet in the sand. I want to get salty. I'm going to maybe take myself out for a breakfast. I'm going to, do a family day on the beach. I'm going to celebrate myself. Because you know what? Every day I'm here and I'm grateful for it. And you know what? There is no other me but me. There is no other you but you. What about you? You're going to give yourself a shout out for. Do it. Let's stop hesitating and let's do it. What I'm going to throw at you next one here is celebrating yourself with your tribe. Stop hesitating. Take time, whether that's group text, whether it's, hey, we're going for coffee. Guess what? I landed this project. Boom. Or, hey, guess what? I was able to complete that 5K. Boom. What's your boom? And celebrate with your people. Do it. Let's stop selling ourselves short. Let's start celebrating the us that we are. Who are you? And for some of us, we're still grappling with that. Celebrate yourself, man. You are awesome. You'll be like, I don't believe that. You start this journey, you'll begin to believe it. Because there's so many things sometimes we could get dusty with and we just forget about. But when we, going back to those Post-it notes, when we give ourselves those verbal shout outs in a group text or on social media, it begins to be reinforced. We then get it validated by other people. And it kind of really lays this groundwork for self-celebration and us really kind of getting a stronger, firm, awesomeness about ourselves. Make it happen. Where does it start with? So one of the first steps looking at is actually list and say aloud, what do you appreciate and love about yourself? Nobody else has to hear you. Let yourself hear yourself. What's something awesome? Man, I rock that bike ride. What is it about you that you appreciate, that you dig? Start writing it down, write a list. When we see it over and over again, when we say it repetitively, I'm going to tell you, we begin to absorb it. We begin to believe it. Believe that you are worth celebrating because, man, you are. And until we begin to believe it, it's when other people begin to believe it. Allow yourself to be valued, appreciated, celebrated in a way that you've never, ever done before. And what I want to focus on a little bit here is the aspect of stop making excuses of why you can't celebrate yourself. Stop it. Stop making excuses and begin allowing yourself to really, really love yourself, appreciate yourself. I think there is absolute power in that ability. And the last one I want to look at is the aspect of showing up for yourself. If somebody gave you a call in the middle of the night that you're super tight with, if you had something going on at work, you're like, hey, I'm here. Why don't we do that for ourselves? Show up for yourself. You deserve it. Way too many of us out there will show up for others and we let ourselves down without even realizing it. And man, that can change. You got a pulse, you're breathing, heart's pumping, started new chapter. It is never too late to begin that new chapter, readjust the seals, and get that rockin' because you are worth celebrating. And I want you to think a little bit about making that list. What are some things that you've achieved in the past few months? some goals that you've made for yourself, something about you that is you. Write it down, start some post-it notes around your house, put it in your car, put it in your wallet, put it in your purse. See it. Give yourself a shout out within the next 48 hours. Do it because you deserve it. Begin celebrating you because, man, for how many years you've been on the earth, it's time to get that party started. I want to say thank you for being here and thank you for being you. Looking at all these kernels of goodness, pulling them together and knowing that celebrating you begins right here, right now, and it can happen. If you enjoyed today's episode, I'd love for you to give it a thumbs up, to subscribe to the Goodness Chick YouTube channel, and I want to say thank you for being part of the Peace, Love,